Good evening, heroes and heroines, and welcome to Practising Programming in C, where we are kind of finishing off the config file parser for Cinera. Just before just as I was getting prepared to do the stream, I always do get some music queued up, and I tend to try and listen to something that was released on the day that we're on, right? So today is the 21st of March, and so you do the search in my audio player, and there's this thing that I did that I didn't release. I think I must have recorded it on this day 10 years ago, called Rudimentary Recording Mono. I could conceivably play it, actually, couldn't I? Because it's not going to be copyrighted. Yeah, I could actually do that. Let's see if I can add it to the thing, because it could be kind of fun. You know, it's a 10-year anniversary of this recording. It's a 3.5 minute recording, so it's kind of a substantial thing. So let's see if I can hook this up. So on programming, we want to add a jack input client. I don't think I need to start the jack server, do I? Maybe I do, I can't remember. I think it's under graph that I'd do it. So there's MPD already. MPD's there, so that's going in. There's UIC. Capture. So I'll tell you what, I think maybe it's not going to show up until I think this MPD here is actually this thing that I've just made. So I think this should be okay. I think. Let's just start it anyway. I'm not exactly sure what I should be doing there. And then let's see if I can hook it up. Right, okay, so there's MPD. So we need to plug that into the two ins. Can I do that? I think that did do it. Let's see what happens. So that's not coming through. So that in. Yeah, this is a whole new thing, by the way. It didn't used to look like this. It used to be kind of different, but I think they must have changed how this stuff kind of works. So capture one is going into there. That makes sense. So this is going to be my actual sound card. I mean, shouldn't that just have connected it? You see, it's not coming through to here. There you go. Right, now if I just start from the start of the track again. Then what I think I'll do is listen to the track. And while we're listening, I think I'll just type up some crap. Yeah, just plan out the day, because we're doing a bit of odds and ends stuff. So yeah, I'll speak to you in about 3.5 minutes. And it hasn't retained the connection. Okay. we're getting there. Right, there we go. So that was 10-year anniversary of that particular recording. So let's get rid of this. We cannot broadcast any more copyrighted material. How do we do this? Okay. I suppose I could leave that there. Or should I not do that? Let's not. Because it didn't keep the thing anyway, did it? I'd have to add it to the patch bay or something to actually make the thing persist. So we've removed MVD. We're still coming through with the mic. So I believe I can cue up the Pixies now. And turn them down. So I don't have to feel like I need to be screaming my head off over the the volume of the Pixies. They'll give us half an hour. Yeah, I don't really know how much we want to do today. let's queue up this, and let's queue up a Radiohead album, King of Limbs. Got that in the list? Nope. So that's going to give us an hour and that much. Just double check that it's not coming through on the thing. I mean, there's no conceivable way that it could do because MPD isn't connected up. Yeah, don't need to care about that for now. So let's start with this extend string in book function. Let's get that going. So basically just getting rid of this buffer. As I mentioned yesterday, we've got this buffer, a pointer into the buffer, and all you're doing when you sort of go into these resolve local variable functions, resolve local variable and resolve environment variable, you're just passing this bare pointer, and like you have no idea how much buffer is even available to you. So we want to make that a bit more sort of systemic, I guess. And this thing here, when we do this function, this addition here, I reckon that we should be perfectly fine to simply do an extend string in buffer, extend string in book of a single character. That should be fine. And the way that we're going to do the extend string in book will also, you'll inevitably have to handle moving the string in between pages. I haven't fully got the idea down as to how that's going to play out, but that's what we're working on. So let's go up to write string in book and just write a function below that called extend string in book. The implication here, by the way, is that we're going to be extending the most recently written string. So we're going to have a record of that in the memory book itself. So the string is going to come in, it's going to have a length. We basically need to be saying if the yeah, I mean we do so the memory page is a pointer, so that tells me how I want to actually store the initial thing. Let me just augment the memory book for just a second. So what I want to have is essentially like a memory pen location. Bit weird, I know, but and let's say which page it's on and the actual pointer. I think they are they are just pointers. I And just to disambiguate that from that, let's say let's just call it the current string, I don't know. So the current strings, page and location. So we first of all, I think the very first thing we should do actually is make right string in book, set that stuff. So get our add page to string. Current strings page is equal to the page, and the current strings location is equal to the page pointer. I think I do need to store them both, don't I? Like, it wouldn't be sufficient to store oh, actually, hang on. Because we're getting that get add page for string. Maybe we don't need the page. Not sure. Because all we want to be finding out is oh, actually, no, we do need that, don't we? The current. Oh, wait, maybe actually we don't need the pointer. You only need to store the current page, and then in extending string in book, because you know what the current page is, you can just go and get. You can use its own page thingamajig pointer. Oh no, because if you wanted to be extending stuff, right. So if you're in the middle of extending a string, you want to have a separate record of the pointer. And I think if you were to just store the pointer, you wouldn't have access to its parent, its containing struct, to compute the page pointer takeaway page location, essentially. So we've already got so we've got to have that stored. It's basically if the current string location, or I mean, I guess actually the reason we need to store the location, by the way, is so that we can kind of roll back and so we can return the actual correct start of the string. So that's why we need that. if the current string pointer, take away the current string, sorry, take away the current page, yeah it is, isn't it? It's the current, it's a bit dodgy, but I think this is correct. Sorry, current string page location. If that plus the strings, the incoming strings length is less, what is that saying? Less than the page size, yeah. And also that's not location, is it? Base. I wonder if this should be less than or equals to, by the way. Okay, so what this should be saying is if we have enough space to fit the string, so the results, look at, is it result base? What are these guys? Yeah. The result base should be equal to the current strings pointer we want to be doing a copy string to bear pointer. So incrementing the pointer, we need to set the length to be equal to it should be equal to, so yeah, the result, it should be equal to the page, the current page pointer, take away the current strings pointer plus the length of the incoming string. And then what you need to do is you need to say that it's just that copy string to bed pointer, isn't it? So I think I'm getting a bit, I might be getting a bit in hot water here. Oh no, I'm fine, because it's a pointer to the page, and when we're pointing to the page, we're going to be operating on its actual pointer. So yeah, this should be fine. If we then just do that. So what's it not like in current string? So it's page and location. Yeah, this one should be that, shouldn't it? So I reckon that is correct. Otherwise, what we need to do is we need to somehow communicate to write string in book. So the current string that we're talking about is going to be I think we just need to, because we're talking about this person taking one string, this person currently takes one string. I think we just want a version of write. The easiest way would be to do a write string in book version that is just like, it takes two strings. It takes the current. Well, it doesn't even need to take the current string because we know. Because just like we've derived the length of the current string here, effectively, because it's essentially this. It can just take one string, but it kind of adds the things together to figure out to do this. Get out of page for straight. Yeah, I suppose. I mean, another option would be to allocate a string specially for the purposes of passing it to write string in book. So how that would look is essentially like this. So we're going to be making a string out of two length strings. The first length string is going to be a string which is whose base is at there. Maybe you could store rather than storing just the current string's location, store it as an actual string. Could that be right? Because basically what I'm kind of going to have to do here is going to be this. Blimey. String location, and the length is going to have to be the thing that I've got highly up above. And then you just it's going to be like first and second, and then you call you just called your make string, and then what you're doing, you're going to write string in book. It's the new string. So that needs to return that. Yeah, I mean, I guess it just would be this one too. Well, you can't actually do that. Right, it'd be basically that. But maybe that's fine. Bit cheesy that it's allocating an entire new thing. See what I think. We will also want to decrement the pointer of the first page. We basically want to be setting this to be at here. So I think that's going to be before we do the write string in book. I think we're going to have to save off the mCurrent string location. And also this. So essentially we're talking about getting the pen, really, isn't it? And the pen is just going to be the current string. Right. Sorry. So we're saving off this. We write the new string in book, and then what we need to do is use the. We just need to decrement the current pen we just need to say that we just basically need to say that the current pens page.pointer is equal to the current string's location. And I think that should just be okay, shouldn't it? Because they're pointing directly at things. Sorry, it's not that at all. It's that, isn't it? And this isn't a thing. I think that's right. So that would mean that, you know, after this whole story is ended, we could do a subsequent write string in book call that could write into that page that we just moved from. I think that's correct. I think the other question here is like whether I want to bother allocating or whether I want to you know, like I say, do a thing that's like a 2 stringer so it sort of knows like what you should be talking about. So what is this using here? It's literally, it's the only reason that it's using the S at all here is for the length. Right? So what you could conceivably do, rather than doing a get or add page for string, well, I mean, maybe you do need a separate write string in book call. That can actually pass. They cannot, of course, get our page for string. So I am sort of fancying this idea actually. Extend string in book. I mean, I guess technically I could just do it all in line, couldn't I? Rather than calling write string in book at all, just do all of this stuff in line. Although I guess that would be a bit cheesy. think I prefer that rather than making a string especially. So yeah, let's just do that. So this is going to be a unit 64 length. This thing is going to be passing the string length. So that's the first step. Then let's do a should we just do it in line? So which thing am I taking here? It's actually the current strings page pointer, isn't it? Yeah, it's this. You can see here that the length. So this length ain't going to change. You can sort of see though why I was suggesting that the memory pen location should contain an entire string rather than just its location, just to save you having to compute this length. like this person. Yeah, like this person has to compute the current. So rather than mind you, I suppose. Well, no, because you would be you are saving off the current thing anyway, aren't you? You know, and where you're using current here, you'd be using the pen that you saved off. So what I'm saying is just do this. What was it called? Location. And we're calling it, so this is the current. Okay. So it's the current page, the current string. I think it's base, isn't it, for strings? And the length is going to be, so if we're writing a string in book, the S length, isn't it? Right, because we're literally just writing it. And then, yeah, like I say, we don't need to be storing the current because we've got that. The pen is going to contain it. Right, that's got the entire string. And similarly, sorry, that's complete garbage. This isn't going to be sufficient. It should be the result length. So if the base of the current string, take away the page base, plus the result, the entirety of the result length is less than the page size. Then we just set and let me just double check again. I think it is base, isn't it? Yeah, strings have a base. It's the result is to be equal to the current string's base and the current page's pointer is what we're copying to. Right. If we don't pass that, then we set the pen to be the current thing. Why am I doing that there exactly? Was that so I could just derive something that I don't need to derive anymore, maybe? We're setting the result base to be that pointer there. Why not just use that page location, pen location? Oh, this is old news, isn't it? Pen string base is what this should now be. If it was going to be something, if it's going to be the actual thing. But we want to be setting the base to be, you've just got a new page. Or rather, you've got the page that will fit the string. The current page is going to be this string. That is going to be this. The current page is that. The result base should be the page pointer. Yep. And then we just do that. So yeah, I think this line is just not needed. Could be mistaken, but I think that's right. Am I correctly using? Are we using the pen as we should be using it? Well, we're not using the pen, are we? Oh, we should be using it here. So this should be the pen string. Right, that's what we need. We're never setting the current string's length, are we? That should be equal to the result length. So yeah, there's a bit of duplication between write string in book and extend string in book. It's essentially I think it's those things that are identical. Although we set the result up front here, result length up front, whereas we set it down there. I think that's fine. This might be completely wrong, by the way, so in which case all bets are off. But let's try it out. We probably should need to set the current string's length, shouldn't we? Could have come back to haunt us. not dead yet. That was some dangerous stuff there. I think we'd only just started Feral. It must have been Feral that just threw me for 6. Yeah, I think we actually need to decrement the current pen's pointer, because we're not doing that, are we? Yeah, we need to... We need to decrement the current... Yes, yeah, this is what we need to do. Possibly not yet, but... Well, mind you, this get error page string is going to get us a new page, so whenever we're operating on this new page, this is unrelated to the current page's thing. But, yeah, actually we need to call get error page string after we've... unless actually... So that's sort of interesting. Get right page with string. Is only going to... Well, it's going to consider the entirety of the string length. So in effect, we do actually sort of need... to back up the current page's pointer before doing that get a page for string, because we could get too many, like we might not be making full use of the page size basically. So the current page's pointer should be, well, no, it should be equal to the right. I think if we do that, then we'll be in a better shape to do this get a page for string. We've got the full length. It's got a bit weird now that, you know, since I changed get a page for string to take just the length, I'm now just still, you know, it used to take a string. I'm now just straight up passing in both the places that I'm using it a string length, which is kind of interesting. So I guess since that's what I'm doing, I might as well just take the fucking string. That's good. Okay. So you back up the pointer, and then you see if you can get a string, if that page will fit the entirety of the string, which it won't. We know that because we've essentially determined that up here. Yeah, we do need different bits of stuff going on here, because like, I was just wondering if we could just completely dispense with the two things, just because they're so similar. Dispense with even the two branches. But I don't think I really can, because in this case we only want to be copying string to bare pointer one thing. In this case we want to be copying both. Yeah, I don't know, maybe it could be. Done more succinctly. Not that it super matters, it's just a bit of fancy pantsiness. Yeah, in this case we need to set the current page string base. In this page we don't need to set those things because they're going to remain, but we do need to increment the current page pointer, as we have to in both places. We do need to set the result base. I suppose oh yeah, that happens in two different places. Happens here. The M current string base. That gets changed to be this. Although, why not? We're setting the result length up at the top. M current string length. Is that not used anywhere else? clearly we need to set the page and the base in here. So this can only happen after. Sort of feel like this could happen up here though. Oh no, you can't, because the pen won't be right. So yeah, we need to set that after. Okay, satisfied that this is alright. It's only a tiny function, but I mean, you've got to make it right, haven't you? So, where are we using a buffer? The only place we're using a buffer is in the... Well, I thought we were using one in here, weren't we? It's a local variable. What's this pointer operating on? The pointer is that. Pointer is equal to variable 0. Variable 0 is the variable length plus 1. Got the dest plus plus. So this guy is taking the dest. I think this is the thing that's taking the buffer, isn't it? Or rather, pointer into buffer. Yeah. So essentially, what we're talking about doing in resolve string, yeah. We want to end up returning a string, right? Let's just also do that boolean begun string, but I sort of wonder if I could just do like a reset pen thing. Which just tells the book that the new pen is located here and has a length of 0. Right? That's the current pen. And then when you have a UX, and then you don't need to bother actually saying, have we begun a string? If so, do write string in book. Otherwise, do extend string in book. You can just call extend string in book. You're not exactly extending the string, but you kind of are, because it's a 0 length string to start off with. So I might do that actually. Reset pen. Not exactly sure if that's the right thingamajigging. well, seems to be right. So you got your result, and what you essentially want to be saying is so I is the thing that's getting us through the incoming string. We've got a test string here. Parsing scoped variable. Test.length. So this is just determining this is determining the extent of the variable. Still recovering from my almost drowning before, by the way. So these guys are writing into a pointer. I've got a funny feeling that I might not be able to. You know when I do this here, this S base I, I'm not sure I'll be able to pass that through to my extend string in block function. So the pointer is literally just being used to increment us through the buffer, which is not necessary anymore. If we do result equals resolve local variable, don't bother passing that pointer. It's going to have to take the book, isn't it? Pass the book rather than the pointer. And then when this guy does its thing, it does the extend. Yeah, I think that's what I'm talking about doing here. And then finally, once the result has gone through all of this stuff and built up, you just return that result. Yeah, let's try that. Let's just do the resolve local variable first. So let's make a table memory book. Don't bother with the pointer. nonsense. This will have to be an extend thing as well. Somehow. So, result of run the taking the character desk, we're going to take the memory block. Eminently possible that I don't need to. Yeah, actually, it doesn't take a pointer to a string, does it? So it's an incompressible type, is it? Yeah, okay. That's nice. like I say, I'm not exactly sure what I can do here. Because I don't think that's going to be permissible, is it? Right. Yeah, think about it. So it's a type car, so I need to pass. I need to somehow stringize it. Oh. So if I'm not mistaken, I've done the stuff that needs to happen. Let's see if anything has changed. Let's see if we crash. Yay, we did crash. So, memory access in reset pen. Really? Did you ever just write to a null pointer just for fun? Gosh. Yeah, I might have done it just now, actually. Oh no, this is a read, isn't it? Did I ever write to a null pointer for fun? I'm not sure that I did. I wonder how that can be pointed to the zero page. Do we need to initialize something? Try to read memory access the current page pointer. It's trying to read, isn't it? So when we do the extend string, it should set the current page pointer for us, shouldn't it? So even if we don't have one set here, we should be safe. T760. So what's it trying to? It's trying to read on that if we've got a pointer. So what this is supposed to be doing? I do want to try this right to a null pointer just for fun, by the way. So let's just have a quick gander. Memory page, the current page. The current string, blingamajig. So it's pointed to the zero. So the only things that can be pointed to the zero page are the, well, it's the pointers, isn't it? Probably. The current page. So what am I trying to look at? Oh, I guess. That could have been 0. Now we're getting a heap buffer overflow on string length. Really? So it's the call Yeah, I thought this might be a bit dodgy. So, because the thing is, this S base I is not a string, so we need a way to actually. Well, you just do this, don't you? The base is going to be is a base pointer. Yeah, maybe what's going on, because it's trying to do the string length. The wrap 0 is trying to do the string length, and because it's not a string, it's not 0 terminated. So maybe this is a bit sketchy, but maybe what's possible is set the base to be that, and then just straight up set the length to be equal to 1, right? And then you just pass that to your extend string call. And now we're getting 0 page. Extend string in book, so it's the call 259625. Oh, sorry, it is this call. So yeah, it doesn't like that. Initialization of car, so the S base, so the incoming string yeah, it's still this it doesn't like. So the incoming string, right, is just the full thing. This is the thing that we're looping through, and we're essentially saying, so we're switching on the S base I, which is just a character. This is going to be super weird, but maybe I just need to do an add character to string. Let's just do that, because I think that should hopefully work. So add character to string in book. Right, and the character that we want to be adding is base S base at I. Right, so now we'll go up to extend string in book. You see what's going on here? I was trying to do this extend string in book call, passing it, and you need to pass a string to this extend string in book. So I needed to turn that character into a string, which just wasn't flying basically. So I think it's very similar. I mean, it would be nice if we could turn that car. Well, hold on a second. Why can't... I don't need to do that, do I? Right. Doing this should initialize that as a zero terminated thing. Shouldn't it? Is that right? And then I can do the extend string in book, wrapping that car. I mean, is this any different to what I was doing? Sorry, yeah, you need to do... Right, this is just ridiculous now, but let's just do it. Car at 0 is equal to that. And car at 1 is equal to one of these. It's called by memory access. So is it the same call? It's the same call. Point to the 0 page. Let's go and let's try and do this thing that I was proposing. Add character to string in book. Right. Extend string in book. And it probably is very similar to this. Right. So rather than wherever we've got s length, it's just +1, right? Copy string to bare pointer. And then we need to do the same down there, isn't it? Does that do any better? Again, it's pointed to 0 page. So what am I misunderstanding? Cool, read and access. Add character to string. Push person to config. Oh, dude. So it might have nothing to do with any of that. The memory book might not be initialized. So if there's no memory book, then get or add page for string. Then it's essentially, if there's no memory book, then write string in book. That's probably what you need to do, actually. A get or add page for string. Yeah, let's just say let's just straight up return the right string in book. That is unfortunate, a bit of an unfortunate sort of rabbit hole. So when we're doing this add result, add character string, let's try the wrap 0 version again. So we're getting a read of size 1. String length again. Right. So car, two of them. The car at 0 is equal to the S base, and the car at 1 is equal to a null. And then we wrap Z that. We're now getting a memory 0 page again. It would be nice if we could tell what the memory access was actually on. I guess we could jump into it, couldn't we? We could jump into it and just see what everyone thinks is happening. Also, I guess could we could do that, couldn't we? So we could actually try and nail down what's going on, because by this point we should be able to see what M is, we should be able to see what something is, and we should have enough information to go on, shouldn't we? So what is something that does have a base? Memory book does have a base as well. There's no pages. Page size is that. There's no. So yeah, there is no page. The current page isn't set. Yeah, I suppose that could be the issue, couldn't it? So we do have the book itself, but when we do the M current, yeah. So it's if we don't have an M current, isn't it? If we don't know what the M current page is. I mean, also if the page count is 0 or something. Right, so yeah, we now get through to it. I don't know if anything that's right, but now that we're at least not crashing, I think we should be able to go back to where we're doing. Are we even doing the? No, we're not. So this should probably. I mean, what I was sort of suggesting originally was, could we just do this? Can we do that? So you can't do that, probably because of the string length. That's what that doesn't like, wasn't it? Yeah, the string length. So I can't do that exactly. So I need to separate it out. So rather than wrapping something, we can at least wrap this. And surely this should be sufficient, shouldn't it? Yeah. Right. So finally, we can now actually try. And what was it you wanted to do? Write to a null pointer just for fun. So I think I can do this already, can't I? Because we know that at some point, we know that current page, wasn't it? We knew that this was 0, didn't we? This was null, the null pointer. Yeah, M current page is a null pointer. So I mean, writing to the null pointer should work, shouldn't it? I mean, if I just do that, for example, dereferencing it. Into equal to that. Oh, I see, yes, you want to actually dereference the thing. I was going to say, like, this should work, shouldn't it? Because you'd essentially be setting this null pointer to be the address 8 bytes. Ah. So I'm getting a warning from index monitor integer without cast. Yeah, you're talking about that. So when you do this, what would I expect this to do? I guess I would expect this to fail. Wouldn't I? Because there is no memory allocated for this thing. We're just talking about an actual pointer. Do you know what I mean? Like, if we'd have done something like, I know you probably can't do this. You know, if you'd done something like that, and then tried to, would it be that, or would it be that? I sound to it from voice to it's pointed to intro-cast. Yeah, I'm not sure what I'd expect really. I would have thought that it would fail. Let's see what happens. Explosions. Should be the blimey, really? I'm calling that extend stringing book so many times. Or was it just wrapping? Segvolts. Oh yeah. Yeah, writing to the null pointer just causes the segfault. Proud of not being wrong. You got this nice little image. So, by the way, Jesse, I was just thinking the other day. You mentioned a little while ago. Ah, right. Okay. Yeah, I just have it doing. It does the int3 ASM instruction. Yeah, you mentioned something about trees, didn't you? And I think we were saying that you'd had some trouble kind of dealing with them or something. I was just wondering if you can remember what was stumping you. I don't know if I could maybe like, I don't know, try and help a bit. Because I've done trees for this thing, for this parser, and I've just got a bit more familiar with how they actually how they play out. I suppose I should also actually see that this is actually doing anything, shouldn't I? Yeah, you can see that. So this is resolving here array. So that's resolving the family variable. So yeah, I think that stuff did actually work. Don't care about that. How about that? Yeah, I mean, also, like the entire thing is working. Do something says we're probably using memory type of thing, which we've just done. Doing extension of a book, in a string of variables. Yeah, and we don't need the boolean because we reset the pen. I'll tell you what, actually, reset pen could initialize a page, couldn't it? Maybe. Would it be sensible to make reset pen initialize a page? I suppose I could have to think about that. It's not dealing with education of the trees as well. No idea how to balance. Oh right, shit. And then the figures I could have used cost more memory than just using an ordered array. And binary chopping it. Okay, dude. So that's more than that's more than I've done. Yeah, I haven't got into balancing trees at all. An ordered array and binary chopping it. Okay. I don't think I could do that, could I? You know, I think the only choice I have here is to do a tree. So the reason I'm doing a tree, right, is to, I mean, this whole pass, this thing, well, this isn't actually the tree, that's the config, but this is a scope tree, and unfortunately it doesn't really print out very, it doesn't really indent things in a way that actually makes sense. Or does it actually? Oh, maybe it kind of does. So yeah, I guess it kind of sort of does. So all this is having to do here is represent this kind of a structure. So represent that this scope is this scope here is contained within this scope. Similarly, this scope is contained within that, and that this scope is contained within this. I think I need to be doing that. As opposed to an ordered array. And also I don't bother to sort them either. I just sort of stick them in the tree and it's just wherever they go, they just go. And I sort of think that should be okay for me, because I don't think I'm going to end up actually really searching for things necessarily, because how I'm going to have to use all this stuff is by, I need to use it to figure out like where I'm going to be putting, where I'm going to be generating stuff, and you get that the whole process of like generating the thing is going to be kicked off by a new file being made, right? Or you know, a new HTML file being made, or you resave a HTML file. But I'm kind of thinking that what is it? It's handle events, isn't it? Really? Where's iNotify happening? Monitor file system. Yeah, I'm sort of thinking that the you know, the stuff that this ends up being passed into, the actual configuration that it gets passed into, will probably end up actually containing a handle, one of these like event handles. So when you get a deletion event, or you get an insertion event, when you receive one of those, you're just going to have a pointer directly to the directly to the config anyway. So so you wouldn't need to search. That's kind of what I'm thinking might happen. Do I have a push handle at least? Push event. Config the handles, yeah. I'm sure they have push asset, don't I? I mean, I don't need to do any of this now, actually. That's what I'm talking about. Right, right, handles. Push HTML watch handle. Fit watch handle. Yeah, I'll probably change how these fit functions work as well, actually. So they don't need to take account. Sorry, so they don't need to contain a capacity. Yeah, so we've basically got all these watch handles. It just sticks them on. I presume watch handles are global as well, actually. Yeah, they are. And all a watch handle is one of these. Path type and descriptor. So yeah, what I'm probably imagining happening is that in addition to this, we'll have a pointer to a project in the config. So that we actually know who we're dealing with. To save us having to search, essentially. Although it's not a massive search, but I mean, you've got to find it, haven't you? Yeah, got no idea where this was supposed to be sitting. Yeah, doesn't matter. So what have I missed? Have I missed anything? No. It's official case confidential, yeah. And yeah, definitely not balancing anything or anything like that. So yeah, that question I was just wondering about, wasn't it? It was like, should reset pen, should it initialize a page, essentially? The interesting thing, I think, is that reset pen, after doing reset pen, the intention of doing this is so that you can actually just go ahead and call extend string in book, right? So it's always going to be the extend string book call that you're doing. If reset pen, if it's get or adds page for string. Yeah, this was what I was afraid of. I was afraid of coming into this situation, having actually added a page and set the pen to be at the start of that page, right? But in doing the get, well, actually, no, there wouldn't be a problem, would there? Because doing get or add page for string, yeah, so that would only add page if the point to take away the base plus the length that we're trying to fit on is less than the page size. Less than the page size. So yeah, that should all just work just fine. Anyway, so yeah, there should be no problem. So I think that get the reset pen call, and it does make sense. I think it makes sense why that was failing on there. You know, I mean that was like the first thing that we were writing into the book. because all of the resolved strings get written into a new book. So yeah, that does make sense. So yeah, if there's a current page, if there's a current page, otherwise. And also you can still see that that's exactly the same as that. So that should just take care of everything, shouldn't it? Back to this situation again. We've done the reset pen. It's the 0 page again. Oh. Yeah, so you actually need to set the page as well. So I guess actually, you could just totally say that. And then I believe, like, from here on out, we should always just have a current page available to us. Like whenever write string does something. So yeah, I think that's fine. So let's just have a quick look. Really? So let's just make myself the owner of Handmade Hero. So now get that through. Get the owner through as well. Oh yeah, it was the other thing I was wanting to do was sort out about the default stuff. Like, do I want to be setting stuff like default log level, default update interval, default numbering scheme? Do I want to be doing that kind of a thing? And I think the answer is yes, I do. Because basically, setting default stuff like that, it would just save people having to write it themselves. They shouldn't need to care about having to put in their thing update interval equals 4, should they? They will need to care about setting this HTML templates search template. All of this stuff is totally like what they would totally want to be setting. Query string could potentially be defaulted. Yeah, we could do that, couldn't we? Base dir we'll want to set, and also by the way, base dir will probably want to actually be taking the family. Could be mistaken, but I think they want to be taking that. And I also think that the when I actually come to produce these things, I think I strip the / anyway, don't I? Well, I don't. But I think I probably would want to strip it, only so that I can produce, because that's what I currently do at the moment. When somebody sets like the root directory and the root URL and base URL, base directory, I do strip the stuff, strip any surrounding slashes, so that we don't end up with too many. You know, so it's just like the canonical like means of setting these things. So yeah, and now we're getting there. Fortunately, we still don't have it, do we? And also, it's worth bearing in mind that I'm putting risky in here because this is I mean, the whole thing was supposed to be just testing for risky businesses thing. So it's not necessarily supposed to be correct. But yeah, you can see that we're now getting these through the base dir. I mean, you could conceivably also, if you fancy it, well, we do it with the HTML dir, don't we? The HTML dir sort of separates out all that stuff. It puts the owner and the family. It puts the owner before the family, I mean. Just take a look at this fortune. 3 months Bloody Mary. Ingredients: vodka, tomato juice, Tabasco, Worcester sauce. A1 steak sauce, ice, salt, pepper, celery. Large one with vodka, throw all the other ingredients away. Okay. It doesn't know. No. That's a product of the Handmade Hero thing. So it's just this. And also, it's going to be also included in here, isn't it? Okay, it isn't. So yeah, we've got the project hero there. And then we've just got the project hero array here. So yeah. No, there's no array project in risky. Does it have a title? It doesn't have a title even. Yeah, it does. So print the title out first. So the one thing I was just talking about was setting the default thing, wasn't it? Yeah, that is great. Yeah, it said GF to do that. Go to file, I presume. So yes, we're defaulting to those things. I think let's default those things that we just said. Dude. Have you also got the man page thing where you can like, I don't know if I've got an example of what, you know, if you've got like malloc there, you can just in Vim it's a capital K to jump straight to the man page. Just pulls that up. Can't remember if I was thinking of any other editor features that could be cool. Well, actually, I'll tell you what. Have you seen Casey's stuff for Coda? The scope stuff. You know, he writes the scope information down the side, and I think that's absolutely it's really really useful. Like for me, indexing those videos, that's something that I always do. I always want to write like what the function that he's talking about currently. You don't like the scope thing? What do you like about it? So I mean, this kind of an idea is something that I did think would be really helpful for me. Thought for a good few months, probably a couple of years even. Basically, my thinking of it would have been like, you basically pin the thing to the top of the screen, right? So as you go down the thing, the function name would just stay up there, so you can always see what you're talking about. But if you can imagine, as you're going down scopes and stuff, you might want a similar idea. So as you're going down, you want to see that scope, and then as you go down into this for loop, and then like you might want to know what this scope is talking about, and then you kind of have to, you kind of have that decision, like, do you want to show this scope and not? Do you want to toggle it on? And if it's always on, you could just end up with a great big pile of all these things just pinned to the top of the screen. It's really hard to do this, especially there's a lot of text there. Even the colours are... Okay. Especially there's a lot of text there, yeah. Okay, so it's really the distraction. Do you think you'd like it more if you could like toggle it on when you want it? And that shouldn't be too big of an issue, should it? In terms of like implementation, I don't mean like receiving the thing. I mean like just allowing that to happen, because it won't affect the flow of the thing. It just has to stick it in the available space. I can definitely see what you mean about having to turn your head is a bit weird, isn't it? Because you don't really tend to have to do that at all. But as you can see from my little camera down there, I can't see the camera, but as you can see from there, you can sort of tell that I don't mind if stuff goes on a dodgy angle. Casey has said though that it's a bit different now, didn't he? You thought that was bang on. Blimey, what could I possibly have said that was bang on? That is high praise indeed. Maybe it was the camera. I don't know. camera, yeah. Is that Tim in England? Bang on. Yeah, I know it totally. So yeah, I think let's do this. Do the little default things. Super easy. All it's going to be in is parse scope, isn't it? Or scope trees. Definitely there's a get scope call somewhere. Yeah, it's under here. So do you want to send default stuff here? Number scheme, we push this on value. Yeah. So basically, right, I think we do that. We do the set size here. And then all we're going to be doing is simply push int, isn't it? It's like what is it going to be? I think it's going to be a config int pair. Yeah, it's this, right? So yeah, it's just a simple case of this. So in the case that we don't have a new thing, all we're saying is the int pair key is going to be ident numbering scheme, and the value of that thing is going to be numbering scheme linear, let's just say, and let's push int pair onto our pair. And also, it might be an idea to actually call this the numbering scheme. Oh, well, actually, yeah, I can do that. So we're setting the numbering scheme to be linear by default. So now we should see this thing go to linear, essentially. And sure enough, we do. What was that fortune? Did anybody catch the fortune? I don't think I do. It'll be in my back buffer still. No, missed it. Yeah, that's unfortunate. So, pushed on the default numbering scheme. And also, it's worth bearing in mind, right, we're pushing this on here, and then we're resetting the fields. So what that means is, if somebody then goes ahead and sort of sets the numbering scheme themselves, as they could conceivably do for the Handmade Ray project, they could go down here and they could go numbering scheme equals, so calendrical was the old default, and we have linear, and it begins with S, doesn't it? Seasonal. Oh, actually, I can just show the other thing. So there we go. That's an invalid numbering scheme. Just set that, and then so you get that, and also let me just not print out the config, so you can actually see warnings and stuff like that. Ah, right. Yeah, I need to actually get rid of those. So this is where is this happening? This is happening. This is happening in the parse scope tray. So yeah, we do. Basically, I think if I just do this, it gets us out of the business of seeing all that stuff that we don't need to see. We don't need to resolve the variables for us to see the errors. Right. The point here is that we are not seeing any errors saying that we've already set the numbering scheme. That's the only point I'm trying to establish there. Whereas, if we were to do this after resetting the fields, we should do shouldn't we? Field is set locally. So yeah, actually, that isn't quite true, is it? So we don't really care because we're not. Yeah, maybe it doesn't matter where we set these guys. It's the field is set locally. That is telling this to tell us that we've already set something. Ah. Also, we can't just do this. We need to actually see if we are a project scope. If we are, then push on the stuff. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do, actually. I'm going to do like a initialize project settings or initialize project defaults. Right. And then it's just like this guy will check if it is a project, and then if it's a project, set project defaults for the parent. I think that should be what we actually want to be doing. Is that correct? I think we're doing defaults. I think we are. Set. Yeah, set to project defaults, isn't it? Passing the parent through. Have I got that? I do. Brilliant. So we want to set the numbering scheme. Oh shit. Well, it was a scope tree, wasn't it? Oh yeah, and the other thing, I think what I'll do is I'll do the defaults and then I'll just rearrange this, right, so that we can just do, rather than doing each individual bit piecemeal, we can just call wherever the config is set, we can just call this, right, config equals parse config, right, and parse config itself will just, I don't think it'll init type specs because they are just canonical things. They don't need to be initialized every time you need to parse a new config, essentially. It'll be like parse config wrap 0 cinera.conf, and then that person is responsible for calling the tokenizer, the scope tokens, and all that stuff. Getting the memory book going, resolving the variables, and then freeing the stuff that it doesn't need. So it's gonna free everything. It's gonna free the tokens set, and it'll free the scope tokens as well, the scope tree, leaving us with just the config book. And also the config should probably contain a book of its own, right? So rather than having a separate config book, it just, the config just contains its book that it needs, which may potentially, it just just changing a few little values, won't it, really? But yeah, we've now got seasonal coming through. And we're now in linear. So we've done that. Set project defaults. We want so we've done the numbering scheme. Let's do an update interval. And default log level. Let's just say it's informational, I guess. And I think interestingly, if I were to, let me just see it. Where are the log level? Log level strings, p value. Just want to quickly see. Well, I guess this is going to show us, isn't it? Log level strings. Okay, so we're log level. So yeah, basically I think the default log level should be error, I guess. Log error. I don't know. And also ident log level, and then we're going to push on the log level. What I was kind of just about to think about was like, even this thing could conceivably report some sort of error. But I don't think we don't care really. But like if I was to do 12, would this tell us that that's not a valid thing? It doesn't. Well, does it actually? Yeah, it doesn't. That's interesting. Jesus. I mean, so I'm pretty sure we don't have 12 log levels. Yeah, it's interesting. We don't get that report. So I would have thought, I mean, it's not super important. Logo. Just bear with me just one moment. Just want to see how we're supposed to be pushing the thingamajig's. log level from string. Oh, right. It's only get log level from string that would actually report the error. Basically, what I'm driving at is, I'll just show you. If you do this, you'll get told invalid log level, but it's only get log level from string that's telling us that. And we're not using that function here, so yeah. What was it? Log error, I think we decided on, wasn't it? So now with a bit of luck, we should see that the default log level should come through as error. Would not. Wow. Why are we not seeing that? Pray tell. Or the update interval. I think that might be getting stomped actually. Is that getting written over? Handmade Heroes getting the update interval set to 8. I guess maybe this is... Ah. Yeah, maybe it'd be more instructive if I actually get rid of these guys. Yeah, okay. So that's all that was happening. So these guys were setting the product defaults. Which I guess is perfectly fine. Yeah, that is exactly what you want to happen. So tell you, what do you do when you add a functionality in C? You just have function names like intertext, circle, and rectangle. So I used to have one of the things that I have done, which I could have done with function overloading, is make a fit function. So I used to have stuff like, well, let me just look for, because I've still got these guys. Yeah, push. Right, I used to have all these push functions. So I've got push token, and you see that this calls a fit function. Push tokens also calls fit. Push tokens, there's one. I've got push type spec, similarly calls fit. Push type spec calls fit. So there's all of these push functions. And before I made this fit function, they all called rather, like a corresponding fit function for each thing. So it was like, push typespec field, it'd first of all call fit typespec field, and fit typespec field itself didn't return anything, it was just a void function. And all it would do the same thing as fit, but it could determine a few things from the thing that you passed in. So basically you'd pass in the case of, well, let's just go up to one of the early ones, just to get us away from things that are kind of similar. Yeah, and similarly that. Let's get away from that guy. Push tokens. Push string, yeah, this was also one of them. So I think this should be instructive. Um, so yeah, right. So this is, I can explain this. So you can see here, this push string is taking a pointer to a string list, dest, and a string list is one of these things. It contains a count and a pointer to strings. The fit string function previously would have taken the dest directly. It wouldn't have taken the size of the dest string nor the dest count, and I think it also wouldn't have taken the block size, and we also didn't have the concept of clearing either. So it wouldn't have had to take any of that information because we're passing the dest in its entirety, and the dest contains the count, and you can also get the size of that, the size of the thing that you're resizing from that as well. To change from doing that stuff, I basically made this fit function that it takes all of the individual things, right? So you can pass the actual pointer that you wanted to reallocate on if you need to, which was this, the size of that thing dereferenced, the count, the current count of the thing, the block size, so that's the number of the things you want to fit per allocation, and this new thing, whether or not you clear it. So it takes all that stuff. Hello, Nara 999. What's the emergency? I trust you in the UK with the 999 number. So yeah, all this does now is that it previously in this realloc call, it would have done a size of, wouldn't it? Yeah, it would have done a size of. So where we're doing now the width in bytes, it used to do the size of. So I guess the general thing really here is that to turn all those fit functions into this singular fit function, I essentially made it take arguments that it was previously able to derive from the type that was being passed in. And make it return a void star as opposed to, well, it's returning nothing actually. Yeah, I hate the word abstract, by the way. I'm not gonna condone abstract up to a function. Basically, it's just generalizing. You know, it's making the thing like just general. Yeah, it's meaningless abstracting. You basically, yeah, it is just kind of peeling out the bits of stuff that's just general to the various things. And in this case here, the things that were general were just like, they all have a width in bytes, which we were previously deriving by the size of. They all have a count. They all have an items per block. Previously, the fit function itself was responsible for setting how many items per block you got. But I've just decided that the push function should be responsible for doing that, because this fit is general purpose and it can fit as many things as you want as appropriate for the push thing. And then the clear. So yeah, that's basically how I managed to do that. Yeah, basically, yeah, because that's essentially what you're doing, isn't it? In terms of like function overloading, you're talking about being able to have different functions that take different data types right? That's basically what you're doing. So yeah, taking out the specific data types is exactly what you're doing. Yeah. I didn't really have any perspective on that before I did this fit function either. But this is a pretty good example of that process of just making a thing more general without function overloading, where previously I could have used function overloading. And off the top of my head, I can't think of any other examples of things that could even benefit from function overloading in my code. I suppose the print functions, couldn't they? You could argue that the prints, you could have rather than having a print token and print tokens, because you can see that this sort of takes different things, like the token points to the token. I suppose arguably you can have different prints, but I just do what you're saying, you just describe them. Zero allocation, that when you have different intersections. Yeah. Yeah, so you're talking about intersect circle and rectangle. When you have different intersections with shapes, information like circles, point, rectangle, polygon. Yeah, I haven't done any rendering at all, actually. So I've got nothing to draw on here. But I am sort of thinking that once this config is done, I might actually do something just as a bit of fun that is like just a graphical application. No idea what, really. I mean, I have kind of got a bit of an idea as to something that could be quick and easy, and not necessarily easy, but quick, small, and not even necessarily quick either, but small, small and graphical. And also that doesn't deal with much data, because all the stuff that I'm doing so far has always been dealing with data, like even this config parser, right? You know, I've got this incoming data here, it's just strings, but it's just all kind of, I don't know, it's just all this stuff that you just need to be dealing with. I think it might be kind of nice if we just do something that's all like described within the program itself. So it doesn't need to take any sort of, it doesn't need to really pass anything in or do anything with stuff that's incoming, if you know what I mean. So yeah, we've done the what do you call them? The default things for the log level update interval. I think I set that back to 4, didn't I? Yeah, so these guys don't need to set that anymore. I think it's fair for the modes to be, you can sort of make the modes in the way that the default of them is going to be off. So you shouldn't need to have to set that, I don't think. Oops. Yeah, so they were false before. If you remember Casey's thing on Amiga GUI, it's pretty quick and easy. Probably don't need more than a few days on it. Yeah, but the thing is, though, I literally haven't done any well, I mean, I have done a very little bit of graphical stuff, but I basically have to go from the ground up. So I have to get like a window open. I've got to learn how to draw, and I probably would like to actually learn how to draw, like myself. You know, like doing starting off with like Bresenham's line drawing, and then doing the other one, which I can't remember the name of that off the top of my head. But yeah, I think I'd like to do do it like that way. So I don't know. It depends actually. I mean, I might want to do like a Vulkan thing. So like you using the Vulkan API, and then when you're sort of using the API, it comes with like the drawing things, doesn't it? Right. Cool. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think I do have it. I've got the Spur V tools. The Vulkan ICD loader I've got. Yeah, so I don't have the Vulkan headers, which I need, isn't it? I think I must have just got rid. I think when Vulkan first arrived, I think I did install something, which was to do with Vulkan. Intel. Okay. I'm not exactly sure what this means, by the way. Like, Intel's Vulkan Mesa driver. So I do have Mesa. Yeah, I've got Mesa here. I'm not sure what they mean by this Vulkan Intel's Vulkan Mesa driver. Like, is that going to be a replacement for Mesa? Let's have a quick look. Conflicts with none. Provides Vulkan driver. Really? Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really. I've seen some stuff on Twitter. And I think I did see the triangle. And yeah, that was great to see. Together over the original people. Ah, okay. So so if we go with the Vulkan thing, you'd be interested in seeing that. I like documentation. Are you sure? Yeah, I'm not sure I do actually, dude. It's a lot of reading at the start. Okay. I mean, that's kind of part of the reason why I do my own stuff, actually. Because it's not really... This is a big documentation. Yeah, I don't know about that even. I mean, it's a long time since I've actually looked at Linux docs. I can't even remember like when I was first using it. Like, did I actually look at much documentation for stuff? And maybe I did. But I definitely don't nowadays. And it kind of feels actually like for quite a while, like you don't really read. Well, at least I don't really read documentation. But I sort of just, I don't know, just kind of accumulate kind of bits and bobs of knowledge over time. A bit like how like the your configuration sort of kind of modifies over time. Like this Conky monitor, by the way, it's like it didn't. It wasn't like this. It wasn't always like this. It just changed over time. But no, I mean, um, that was one of the things doing a Vulkan thing. Was one of the things I was kind of thinking I might do, and I was thinking maybe potentially it could if it could potentially been useful to some people. But as you say, like you'd watch and follow along to that, and that kind of decides it that I'll just do a Vulkan thing. And also, like, you can do your own drawing, can't you? Although you do have the primitives available, I imagine, in Vulkan. You could just be drawing points everywhere. You really don't want to read a big booklet. So would you be up for it if would you be expecting like the stream to be sort of me having like the documentation up and sort of kind of going through it on the stream, kind of like learning from the docs on the stream and kind of coding along? Or would you expect it to be like that I sort of read the docs off stream and then come to the stream and like code the stuff kind of broadly for memory, but also, I mean, I would surely have to have the documentation open as well, so I can actually, just so that I'm not relying totally on my memory. Read docs on the stream would be cool. Okay, sounds good to me. And it sounds like a pretty sweet challenge as well. I mean, in some ways, I'd also like to be able to tackle something that I kind of don't expect to get through. Do you know what I mean? Because like when I'm doing Cinera, like I expect to get through it, and I kind of have to do it really. It can be interesting to kind of try and tackle a problem or project, however small the project is, that is like could end up not being doable by me if I'm only working it together. Cool. I think we've actually done all the defaults, haven't we? Privacy, we deal with that. The log level. I guess we could just look at the init type specs just to see what the type specs we've got that we could potentially initialize. So the root type we don't care about really, and the only things we would really care about initializing are the people. And yeah, like these guys wouldn't need to care about having anything like that, so I do think though what we would need to do is have a way to, let me just demonstrate this. say like we've got, I think I have a person, don't I? Yeah, so my person may blow. This is the only place that this person is set. Like, they don't occur in the included file. You can see that Mio's got a person himself. So he's fully set up. He's got a support patron, support PayPal. I don't have that. Now if I go down to Handmade Ray and I just make myself the owner of this again, you now see that I've got this, right? And that's because the support has been absorbed. Isn't it? Support can't absorb. What happens if I use Mio? Or what happens if I... Yeah, that's the problem, isn't it? It's actually not able to absorb this. So that was where it was. That's why we need to have some semblance of absorption. But you need a way to be able to say it, so it is absorbent. Oops. Oh, hang on a second. Do you just make this false and the other one true? No. So yeah, I might need a story as to how you actually say that if you just do this, you just don't get a thing through. Because you should have to specify that somebody has a support thing. I think what I'll do is I'm going to leave it for now. That's going to be the thing to mull over. I'm not sure exactly where I'd write it. Maybe the 2 just goes right here. We need a way to well, unwanted addition. I mean, it's a bit cryptic, but like, you know, basically it's basically enforcing that in order to absorb a support scope must actually be mentioned. Speaking of trees, I'll go to make a tiled window structure. Huh. How are they related? Horizontally split, vertically split, and how much one takes up another. Nice. I think I might need that for something that I've got in mind, actually. That I've got brewing. What's the way? If you can describe it in like chat. I mean, if it requires more than chat, if it requires a proper full-on article, then I'll be interested to read it. Right. So that's that. So all I want to do finally before we go home is the following. Right. Parse config. Maybe before I do this, actually, let's make the config itself contain a memory book. So this is going to be like our resolve variables. Ain't it? Yeah. I mean, I guess you could just call it book, couldn't you? And then that'll work. Or rather this. Yeah, and interestingly enough, this just means that we're passing the thing again, the result. So we could just make the push person onto config just relieve it of taking the memory book, essentially. So let's do that. It's kind of what we're doing. We're sort of doing a bit of deleting and editing. So yeah, it's just a case of all of these guys, wherever it's taking config and memory book, you just make it just take the config. So resolve, yeah. Resolve variables. Yeah. Oh, resolve environment variable is going to have to take the config. Well, actually, that's fine. And that doesn't like that because it's taking the memory book. Yeah. So extend string and book. This should just be the configs, resolve variables. Similarly that, and that, and that, and that. Config is undeclared. Oops. Okay. Parent to children, yeah. Parent to children. Nice. Sounds cool. And yeah, split into 3 nodes, parent and 2 children is exactly what I'm thinking my kind of idea would require. So even for the purpose of, even if you don't need this for the purpose of laying out, I would definitely need that idea for this thing that I've got in mind. I haven't used unions actually. No, that sounds cool. Yeah, it does sound sweet. Good job, dude. Did we say the resolve string doesn't need to take the thingamajigger? We did, didn't we? Did we make that pass? Take the actual... Yeah, it did offer on the resolve strings, that's fine. And then, yeah, it's just this, isn't it? Oops. Resolve string, push medium. Did we care about... I think we just, that was the one that we just did, wasn't it? I mean, I guess it could be nice actually if we just replace. Do that. Continue the dreams, it's got to be good. Box size is good. Too late. What's this talking about? Push project onto config. Presume we just got rid of that. So now we do the push person onto thingamajig. Yeah, just not using that anymore, really. Support, so that needs to not take the memory book anymore. Why did I do that? Oh, I needed to do delete to click on personal information. That is the, yeah, that is the risk, isn't it? So now I believe that we're never passing the memory book separately from the config, where it's not necessary to do that. Memory book. This doesn't need to happen. So let's see if we actually broke it entirely. We didn't exactly break it entirely, so that seems to be okay. So we've done the first step in the process. The first step in the process. Don't listen to the thinking. Don't listen at that. I think I can delete that now because we are apologies people. This thing here, we still don't have an idea as to what we're doing with that, so we need to do that. And this was just a note to explain what we're trying to do with the family variable. So we don't need that anymore. And the family variable, by the way, Jesse, is the thing that produces this, right? I can show you on a longer one as well. So you've got like book coad 1bi1. That's just produced by the family variable. So HMLdir, which is what this thing is. See this family variable, and the reason that all, so you just see it's home Cinera HTML, owner is this person here, and the family is risky book code. It's all that kind of stuff, and that's just the it's just the IDs of the projects. So it's like project risky, project book, project code, and then all the way down into here, this guy. So yeah, that's what that was all about, that family variable. Right, yeah, so that looks good. So now that we've done that, we can do the the actual thing I want to do. It's config, parse config, and we're going to pass this. Yeah, exactly. Basically like a convenience sort of thing for people to just use. Free config. Right. So I think I might just pop over to another thing here, so just so I can kind of write the function that does the stuff that needs to be going on here. So it needs to return a thing, and it's taking a string to a path. So the first thing it needs to do, we're not doing the type specs, we are going to do the tokens set. I guess also config if scope tree is all the variables, and then having done that, you want to free the tokens set. And you also want to free the scope tree. Crazily enough as it seems, but that's what you want to be doing. And then finally you return the results. And free config should itself call free book. One of the first things is having the two windows to the same phone, which yeah. Okay, fine. Be like that. So that's what I wanted to do. Pass config if t print tokens. Like, is it really that easy? What are those zeros on scope tokens? I guess they're parents, aren't they? Parent scopes. Parent scopes, and I'm not sure what the final thing is. Oh, the rules. Okay. So it's the parent scope tree. And the config include rules. Fine. Oh, by the way, another thing that I think I might need to retain is the actual path. Is that true? I don't think that's true, actually. I think what we actually want to be doing is... Alright, dude, well, I might have gone, actually. Because I think this is the final thing I was going to do. So, yeah, have a great trip to the store. And if I'm gone by the time you're back, then we'll catch up another time. I think part of the thing is going to be when we do the tokens set, when we do the tokenize, I think we want to actually because this tokenize function gets called by resolve variables. Right, if we look in resolve variables, well, sorry, it gets called in scope tokens. We should see when we go down to the ident include that it calls tokenize. Yeah, right. I equals tokenize. So what that means is it basically tokenizes the included file. Now, one thing that we're going to have to do yeah, we also don't know the tokens, do we? That's a good point. Do we? Well, hold on a second. We might do. Token set. Yeah. Okay, so we're fine. The token set. Does that contain the file name? Well, it kind of does, doesn't it? The tokens has a file. But what I'm kind of driving at is I think that's all fine. If we want to handle hot reloading or some sort of detection of, yeah, it is essentially hot reloading of configs. If we want to handle that, which we do want to handle, then when we actually tokenize a file, because it's only it's the tokenizer that actually is responsible for reading the files, and I think they should free the files as well, shouldn't they? Who's responsible for freeing files? Free token set should free the files, shouldn't it? Yeah, it feels a file buffer location. Yeah, so this is the person that frees files. Which is fine. Also, if we want to handle the hot reloading, we need to know when somebody has edited a file. Right? We have that information within the when we tokenize things. Now, part of the tokenizer is going to have to be like when this I think it's probably going to just be straight up when the tokenize starts up, or I guess maybe when it's just when it's about to return, I guess. Right? Because if it can return with success down here, I think we want down there. Yeah, it doesn't return anywhere else, does it? So it just kind of assumes success, I think. Which I guess is fair enough, because it's just tokenizing, it doesn't need to validate anything. Before doing this, I think we want to actually push on a watch handle, like an iNotify watch handle for the file in question, so that we can actually detect the edit. So let's just do that. Right. And we also might need to know how that file relates to other files, mightn't we? You know, because you need to, in order to produce the entire config, you need to know the whole hierarchy of files involved. So I think, yeah, that's going to have to happen somewhere. Oh, I guess it's not even in the entire hierarchy, is it? It's just like who's called, like the actual. Well, we're gonna have that information, aren't we? We're gonna know. We're gonna know what the actual pairing config file location is. Anyway, so maybe we don't need to store anything actually. Anything additional. Just storing the watch handle should be fine. And when you see that watch handle, you just know that you need to repass the config essentially. So yeah, I think pushing the watch handle should just be sufficient there. And this thing here is wrap 0. This is going to have to actually take a bit of extra stuff. It's going to have to, like, not extra stuff, but it's going to have to essentially, it's going to have to take an argument. So it's like there's going to be a default location for it, which will probably be like, what is it, XTG. Yeah, it'd probably be like that. Right. This is that's probably going to be the default. That place. But somebody could pass on the command line, like wherever they want it to go, so they know what to use. And a single instance of the program is only going to have a single setting for this config location and a single set of watch handles. So yeah, we don't need to store anything else. All we need to know is whether a particular file was modified. If it was a config file, then we'd go ahead and parse it, and we see if we actually get a config in, then we kind of like just set that to be the new config. I think also we want to diff, by the way. We want to somehow diff the current config and the newly parsed in config. I think we want that to happen. Just for correctness' sake, I think I should do this in here, by the way. So if you've got a scope tree, you resolve those variables, and then you free that scope tree. If you've got T, you come in here, tokenize the token set. Why is T being used? T is being used here. So that takes the token set. I mean, I guess that makes sense to somebody. Yeah, I guess that's fine. And then again, just initializing the time specs separately from all of this is just what you want to be doing. I mean, I guess, strictly speaking, right, what you probably want is to have like a config, current config, and then you just sort of say, well, if you've got the config, then you say the current config is equal to the config that you just passed in, and then you go on your merry way. Can't free it. You know, like, could you do that? Yeah, it seems like you could do that. Or I guess like if config, then you say if you've also got a current config, then diff it. Otherwise, current config is just straight up that config. I mean, maybe you don't need to diff. Not sure. But yeah, I think that's fine for now. Just back that out. Make sure we're still building and running, which we do seem to be. So yeah, the main thing really is to make sure, I think next time let's tackle this. Let's make sure that the owner doesn't actually kind of like absorb stuff in that it shouldn't be absorbing. Let's do that. Let's do that let's get our to-dos going. So it's in, I wrote it in its heights, but didn't I? Yeah, we need a way to enforce to permit absorption of support scopes while preventing the unwanted addition. Basically enforcing that in order to absorb support, a support scope must be written for the person. So yeah, we need to just ensure that doesn't get bamboozled by stuff. Potentially we could like we're going to need a default template. Sorry, a default medium. Right, every project needs to have a default medium. We might want to warn if that isn't set somewhere. So yeah, that's to think about. But I think we're basically there, aren't we? Really, we didn't look at today. We didn't look at other things that we could actually, other variables that we could add. I don't think they should be too tough to add. You know, like in the future, if we, you know, as we're going through this, you know, as we're going through the process of actually copying this into the Cinera's main file and getting all the things hooked up, we may find that we want more variables. May want to change how variables are displayed. Well, I don't think that would happen actually. May want to just remove variables entirely. But yeah, it shouldn't be too tough to add, to modify that stuff as we go. So I think the only thing remaining before we, well, as well as the default medium as well, the main thing is just to ensure that people don't get supports that they shouldn't have. And then once we've done that, I think it's just a case of ripping out the debug printfs in this thing, and then copying it all into Cinera. How long is this file? So this alone is 3,000 lines. How long is Cinera? Okay, so Cinera is 9. So we're basically saying that a third of the program, or rather, when we've added the other thing, a quarter of the program is going to be for parsing the configuration file. Oh, we also need to do the error messages. So yeah, those are the two things. Just do a to-do down here as well. And we may want to respect the log level. Is that true? I'm not sure if we want to respect the log level or not, or whether we just do our own thing, because logging is different from printing. So yeah. But yeah, I think that's it for now. We've been doing it for 4 hours. 4 hours in a row. Gosh, aren't we busy bees? So yeah, that's all for now. Thanks very much, heroes and heroines, for being here, for being square, and also for listening to the recording that I did 10 years ago today, at the start of this stream. yeah, that's all. Until next time. Farewell for now.